Hello, everybody. This is the Digital Dice Podcast. I am Dave.
I'm Ron.
This is episode 54. Ron, how have you been?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Good. How's the weather up there?
It sucks.
Yeah, raining down here, too. It's terrible.
Yes.
So you might ask, why are we rushing through the intro? Well, today we're going to talk about rushing your project, something we've probably all come in contact with or had to deal with. We started talking about, Ron's working on something and I was doing something earlier, and we're like, do you ever rush it? Because you don't want to quit it, but do you ever rush it? And he's like, yes, I do. So we're going to talk about rushing your project here on episode 54.
Episode 54, where are you?
I don't know where it is, but I guess it's here today. I can honestly say I've never seen that show, but I've
never seen it either.
I've heard a lot about it. I guess was it like a prelude to One Adam 12 or something like that?
No, it was a comedy.
Oh, was it?
It was actually, it starred, it was kind of a prelude to the Munsters because the main character was Herman Munster, was Fred Gwynn. And his sidekick was Grandpa, it was Al Lewis.
You might be completely correct on that. Way to go. Yes.
Thank you.
Nice
Thank you
job.
much.
That's why you're here.
That's why I'm here.
That's why you're here. Yes, you are.
So I've never seen an episode either. Early 60s sitcom. Didn't last for kind of one of those cult things.
Yeah, it didn't last long, but it was huge. It was.
I mean, we're still talking about it today, 50, almost 60 years later.
Do you know what's kind of funny is when you go back and you actually look at some of your old, especially the TV shows, right? Mm-hmm. And you realize that it didn't run for 20 years like you thought it did. It ran for like 2 to 4 years, and you're like, how did this thing run for 2 to 4 years and be as huge as it is?
Like the Munsters. Those reruns were on forever. Gilligan's Island, 3 years.
Yeah, even the Three Stooges, they only recorded a handful of years, and those got so much play. They really did.
They still do.
I actually watched them on YouTube the other day. I was watching someone who went to all the grave sites of the Stooges.
Oh, yeah, George Vreeland, somebody or another.
I don't know. He just went. He started with Mo.
Tremendous channel.
And then he went to, and he showed like where they were all buried, and they weren't all buried together. I think 2 of them were buried in the same place, but just far apart. But he had to travel around and do it all, and it talked about all the different Stooges and all the people that replaced Curly, because Curly got really sick in the whole bit.
Curly got a stroke.
Yeah, Curly was in one of the episodes. Actually, he had the stroke, and they tried to finish the scene. Yeah.
Yeah,
and he never came back from that episode either. So.
No, he did a couple cameos there with hair, so he was hard to recognize. True story. Because only one of us has really played anything, so we'll do this one. Tom Bergeron, who you Dancing with the Stars, WBZ back in the day. People were talking at PM. Was it PM Magazine or Evening Magazine where you were? Some markets it was PM Magazine, and others
I think it was Evening Magazine.
Okay, it was PM Magazine up here. Anyway, so Tom Bergeron, who's become famous in that, kid back in the mid-'70s, and first radio job at W1000 Watt station in Wareham or whatever the hell it was in southeastern Massachusetts. And he gets a burr up his butt to get a hold of Larry Fine. Now, one of the Three Stooges, so this does relate. So Larry's not feeling well, and so he gets the number for the Motion Picture Association's nursing home, essentially, the respite home, the retirement home for that. And so he pretends he's got a tape recorder, and he goes and he calls Larry Fine. And Larry comes to the phone, and over a course of like a month or so, he calls 3 or 4 times, and they become phone friends.
No way.
Yeah. And so Tom actually did an interview, and Larry had several strokes at that point. He wasn't well. All those concussions, because those hints that you saw on the screen weren't simulated. They were real.
Yeah.
But yeah, just one of those. It's in Tom Bergeron's American Television Oral History Archive interview, and the whole thing is great.
Oh,
but
that's kind of cool.
But so there you go.
Yeah. I was actually on YouTube too, watching it must have been a Stooges thing coming up on my feed, but Mo was on, I was at the Merv Griffin show or something like that.
Did Mike Douglas? He was a guest host.
Maybe that's what it was. Yeah,
I saw some of those.
Yeah, he did a few of those, and he was on there. And there was one episode that he was throwing pies. He went up and he threw a pie at somebody in the audience, and he got all kinds of heat for it. And so he come back on the show at a later date, and he said, he goes, I got all kinds of hate mail for throwing that pie at the woman in the stands. Just so everybody knows, that woman was my wife. and she was in on it. So just so like stop the hate mail. So
there was one day where he did the Mo hairstyle. He did it for Mike. He brushed his hair.
Yeah, he combed it down. Yeah,
combed it down, and that was great. George Vreeland Hill is the person I was thinking of. He's got some great videos, but he does some of those great meet the cemetery, go to the cemetery and show off the gravestone videos too.
Yeah. But it was neat seeing Mo on TV in color, and he was still trying to do some of the stuff there, throw the pies, and they were doing some skits with him. He was having a hard time standing up, so they were holding him up a little bit. But he was still trying to do it, and he was sharp as a tack, talking about how the Stooges started and who was in there and who was out and how they did it and the deals they made.
Mo and Curly were brothers.
Yeah.
Mo, Curly, and Shemp were brothers.
Yes.
Larry was the one that they kind of added in, but
Yeah, and then they had Joe and Joe Mama Besser or something like that.
And that was when they were too old to be doing that stuff.
Yeah, there was a couple of others they put in there at the end. But anyway, so that's a little bit of reminiscence of old shows and Stooges talk you'll get here.
There you go.
So, so we're going to talk today a little bit about rushing the project and a couple other things too. So, Ron, why don't we get to what you're playing here? Because I'm in a rut, and we're going to talk about that rut in one more second. But go ahead, Ron.
Gosh, what have I done in the last week or so? 78 baseball replay, which is, I think, one of the reasons why we're talking about this particular topic today. We're down to 3 weeks to go in that one, so I did a few of those games. And what else have I done? Reloaded up Tennis Elbow Manager because it's easier for me to manage something than to play something. And that's about it.
You did basketball.
Oh, yeah, I did a game. Thanks, because I'd forgotten about that. John Thompson, the legendary coach of Georgetown, passed away Monday at the age of 78. And so I did a not quite replay of a 1984 NCAA national championship game, which was surprisingly enough the only time that Georgetown won. He brought him to the finals 3 times in 4 years and only won the one. He lost to Carolina in 82. Some guy by the name of Jordan was a freshman for Carolina.
Okay.
Downtown Freddie Brown threw because Georgetown and North Carolina had similar color uniforms. The Georgetown player trying to run the clock threw to the wrong. They thought they were wearing different colors, and they threw it right to Carolina. Ugh. And so Carolina won. They beat Houston in the game I redid with Akeem Olajuwon being a senior. Oh, man, what a defensive stalwart he was. And then in 85, they were upset by Villanova. That's the one that Villanova shot 73% from the floor, which is incredible in any basketball game to shoot 73%. And so that was it. He never got back to the finals again. So I did that. What else did I do? I guess that's about it. It's been a light week trying to get the weather's changing up here. And so trying to get outside as much as we can.
Yep. Yeah, no, I finished my Ghost Recon game on the PlayStation 4, or at least the first chapter of it. I can do another chapter if I want. That was fun, taking out the last big. I think there was these little drones they call them, but it was on the ground. It was this big battle drone, and you had to fight him. It was kind of fun little fight at the end to save the island for the people, or whatever. But yeah, so I finished that. I've been back to. The leagues are starting to fire up in some phases in real life, so I've been concentrating a lot on work for the first time in 6 months. And I actually was at the rink last night trying to see if I could simulate. I now get the simulated games when they say the pitcher did a simulated game. I did that last night. I did a simulated game refereeing on the court last night to see if I could skate for 60 minutes, and I'm kind of paying for it today. How
the electronic whistle work for you?
It actually worked out pretty well. It works better because you can blow it quicker. Because you don't, even though it's only a split second to get it from the hand to your mouth to blow the whistle, just hitting it right away was fun. The guys having a hard time getting used to it because it's just so different.
Does it sound different, or?
Yeah, it sounds a little bit different. It's quite loud, but I don't think it's quite as loud as the one that you blow. And I think you're looking for the referee to be at his mouth, and it's kind of down here, So I'm almost like pointing it at him, like a laser pointer to make the noise. So
my cat would like that.
Yeah, it's pretty loud. So it was kind of weird doing that, but yeah, I spent all day and all last night and all morning keeping an eye on my pulse and my heartbeat, trying to get it back to normal. So that was kind of scary, and the doctor hasn't called me back yet to tell me if I'm going in the right direction or the wrong direction. So
your power's good, though.
Yeah, I felt all right. I did, but it's just my pulse was skipping all kinds of beats, and it's like, so I need to get some answers on that, and they won't call me back, and it's like, come on, just call me back, just give me 5 minutes of your time, and so that's been on my mind as well as going back to work. So I haven't played much. So before we get into the rushing the project thing, I want to throw this out there. What do you guys think? Give me some suggestions of something that I could play to pull me out of the rut. Okay, now
I got one.
Now keep in mind that I don't want a long project. Keep in mind I want to just kind of find something fun that I can do, either a one-off or a quick short project to get me back into playing some of these games. Because now that my Ghost Recon game is done, I'm not playing anything right now. So what would you guys suggest? Something you guys have listened to me for a year now. You know what I like. You know what I don't like. Give me something. Hey, they play this or play that. Here's my suggestion for this. I think it'd be fun if you played that. You get right back into the flow of things. Or here's a matchup you could play or something like that. And it can be any of the action PC games or Franchise Hockey Manager or anything like that, or even some of the Strat PC games or anything on the tabletop. You guys know what games I have. Excuse me. Just what would be the listener suggestions to say, hey, play this, and I think you'll be out of your funk and you'll be on your road back. So
here's my suggestion.
Okay.
You've enjoyed watching the Vegas Golden Knights.
Yeah.
You're a Bruin fan.
Okay.
You have Action PC Hockey 2020.
I do.
Do a best of 5 with those two teams.
Yeah, I could do that.
That would get you, to get back in the swing of things of modern hockey, because, the Bruins will be back playing again by Christmas.
Yeah.
And just for that, that's a short project. You get to learn a little bit about the players going along. Doesn't have to be real elaborate. Might be a one-off, or that that could be a one-off. That could be best of 3, a best of 5. But you've talked about a couple times how much you like Vegas's style.
Yeah, I do like them. I think they're a fun team, especially 3-on-3. And it's just, although the Bruins, it's like, I don't know how many of these guys are going to be back next year. They're talking about massive changes. So,
yeah, I think after last year, that's kind of hard to come back from that. But then again, the last time we thought, or you might have thought, that the Bruins were toast for a while, blowing a 3-zip lead to Philly, they came back and won the Cup the next year. So you just never know. But just something along that line, two teams that you like and can play and learn. One of the things that I enjoy when I do a modern, Super Bowl pre-play or a national championship pre-play is I get to know those teams a little bit, and certainly the last couple Super Bowls, because I don't watch a lot of modern football. It's made my enjoyment of actually watching the game a bit better, because I knew what those teams were capable of and what they weren't, just from knowing the game engines.
I wonder if I were to pull out shootout hockey, because they have the 2019-20 season. And
see, that would be good too, because then you could sit down and do it all in one sitting.
And check out,
you like hardened dice anyway.
Check out this just for ha-has. I'm on the shootouthockey.com website, and
I wonder who created that.
And the headline is this May 1st, 2019-2020 season is now available, and the two teams that were put on the front were Colorado, Tampa Bay. Interesting. See if they
Thank you, Nostradamus Gardner, for that.
See if they get to the finals or not. Who knows? But anyway, so what are your suggestions? Yeah, put some comments here, and let me know what do you guys think I should do to try to jumpstart me playing it. Now, keep in mind, like I say, I am focusing on work again, and in some capacity, and this time it's actually more difficult because of all the restrictions and the guidelines. So it's a lot more mental thinking through this new way of doing stuff right here. So it's very difficult to just jump back in, but now it's twice as difficult because we're jumping back in with restrictions. So I can't have anything that's too consuming right now, but I would like to.
Shootout sounds good.
The shootout thing, yeah, that might be one thing. But I'm interested to see what some of the listeners would suggest for me to get out of my funkaroony here. So anyway, well, without further ado.
And Becky, that's not how you get time off for good behavior.
Is she rolling cigarettes again? Yeah.
Yeah.
No, boy, can't be doing that.
I'm not allowed to comment.
So, all right. So today's topic here on episode 54, Digital to Dice. Oh, by the way, you can reach us digitaltodice.com. 978-751-DICE is the dice line. 978-751-3423. And facebook.com/groups/digital to dice is how you can join our conversations and share all your games that you're playing and your results and your projects on Facebook with us. So, yeah, we started talking here. Ron was playing his 78 baseball series, ski season, I should say. And he was just kind of talking to me, and I said, are you streaming today? He's like, yeah, I'm doing today and tonight because I want to get this done. And he just says it's been going on a long time, and I really want to get it done. And I was like, I've been there where I've done some longer projects, and you give it a lot of love in the beginning, and then at some point it's like, oh boy, I'm still enjoying it, but you don't give it quite the love. And then at some point, towards the end of the season, if you're doing a season or whatever, towards the end of the project, say you're like 80, 85% of the way there, you're just like, all right, I need to wrap this up. And maybe you start skimping on a few things or pinching a few corners or whatever it takes to get the games done a little quicker so you can wrap it up. Because you don't want to quit the project, but you just don't, you don't have that love and that
you've hit Heartbreak Hill.
Yeah.
You know the finish line's in sight, but you're tired.
Yeah, the honeymoon phase of the product is kind of over. So, yeah, tell us what you're going through with that right now.
Well, I had figured after doing the 82 season last year that I gave myself 30 weeks to do. 3 games a week was what the project was. 26-week regular season. Maybe a week or two of vacation time in the middle because the wife's birthday is in the middle of the summer and you don't want to do that. And a couple of weeks to get the playoffs and the World Series done. Because you figure 30 weeks is 7 months, 8 months. Figure if it goes to 32 weeks, done and timed for a rest before football season, before you start the fall project. Well, COVID happened this year. And instead of going to the 78 regular season schedule games that I was going to do, we started doing daily games in that project once spring training shut down in March. Well, here it is taping on September 2nd, and I've still got 3 weeks on the season to go. I'm now going to pass in a couple of weeks real life. Yesterday's game was September 15th, and I'm playing it on September 1st. So it's like a year of, taping The Price is Right. You start 6-8 weeks ahead of time, and then at the end, you're taping 1 week, and there's the next. And so there are other projects I want to work on. Not regretting anything I've done in the 78 season whatsoever, but it's time to bring that one to a close so I can kind of adjust my mindset. It wasn't supposed to take me 10 months to do this project. I don't have a problem doing it, but I just really want to get it done. Because other people want to watch other things than that. So, yeah, I mean, it's not that I'm rushing to get through, but it's like, no, let's just get, we're at the climax of the season. Let's just get this done.
Yeah, I was there as well when I did my California Golden Seals playthrough. I played every game of them. And for me, it was, boy, they lost a lot of games. And it was it got to be the thing of like, geez, can I even just win a few games? That'd be fun too. Boy, I'm getting smoked and I get no chance, and I'm losing a lot of games, and it became not quite as fun. The love wore off halfway through that season, and I didn't want to give up on it, so I just played it, and and I would like throw the dice a little bit quicker and get the results a little bit quicker, and I would start finding ways to play the game properly but faster, and not enjoy it as much as where, in the, in some of the early games, I'd be like, all right, now the Seals on the power play, roll the dice. Oh, there's a shot on net. It's Reggie Leach, and he's denied by Tony Esposito. Whereas in the later stages of the season, it was like power play, no goal, power play, no goal. Okay, regular, 5-on-5. This guy gets, okay, nothing, second period. And I would be a little bit more robotic about it, and I didn't have I wasn't putting the love into it. And I was getting the results, but that's kind of what I was doing, is just getting the results so I could wrap up the project, so I could talk about the project. But in the beginning stages, the honeymoon's there, and the games take longer, and you really enjoy it, and then. But as the project went on that particular one, I was like, okay,
especially when you know that things are not going your way. Most people, I think, you get the honey, as you said, the honeymoon period, and you're going through and you're going great guns, and then you start to notice it's not as much fun. B, you can figure out the flaws of any particular game engine, and they become really apparent. And C, you lose games that you shouldn't lose, or you lose them in unusual ways. And at that point, for me, project gets put on the shelf. And like, okay, I'll go back and do that when I feel like it. And sometimes they do get pulled back out. You go through the second honeymoon phase and vice versa. And other times, like, no, I'm not doing this anymore. But I think what you're talking about is you're so close to that finish. Like, no, look, it's only 15 games. It's not going to take that long to do. Let me just get this done and over with. Then you can say you did it, and then you can go, in your case, because it was the first time you'd really done anything like that, reassess what would make it more fun the next time for you.
Yeah. Well, even in the Action PC product, it's just probably been going on a year now. Is when I did in fact, I know it's been a year because I was using the old Action PC to start this project. I did the 74 Bruins when I took the 3 Russians and I put them on the 74 Bruins just to see what would happen. And that I started off like a house of fire, and then I would skip ahead a little bit and play a game, skip ahead, and well, now I'm finding when I go back to that product, I skip a good 3 or 4 weeks in the season and then play a game. So I knew I wouldn't play all 78 or 80 games, whatever it was that season for Boston. I knew I was just going to play a handful of them, and I was trying to play as many teams as I could. But now I find myself just I play a game and I skip ahead a couple weeks, and I play ahead and I skip ahead 3 weeks. And it's just one of these things where it's like the project didn't go as well as I thought it would. I didn't get
I thought that was going to be a great idea to do that, and the players never adjusted.
Yeah, I didn't get the one guy got hurt. The goalie was Tretiak wasn't playing well, so Gilbert's in it. So basically, they've become obsolete in this project for me, and so it didn't go as I thought. It was still an okay project, but it's to a point now where I found myself skipping ahead, and just simulating the games to get through the season, and I want to get to the end. In fact, I might have even simmed all the way to the end yet. I'm not sure. I got to go back and check out. But it was just one of these things where I didn't want to give up on it, but I had lost some of the love for it. And so there's the fine line between I want to finish it, but I can't sit here and play it and enjoy it like I did in the beginning. For some reason, it went a little sour, and we had talked about products going sour in the past. So this one here, I'm kind of rushing through. I'm going to simulate it. I'm going to play a couple games. I haven't streamed any of these games in a while because they do take longer to stream, so I'm playing them offline to get the data in, and then I can wrap up that and then maybe head into the playoffs and see what happens. And maybe the playoffs, it'll rekindle some of the love for this project. But yeah, that project there, I find myself doing some things to get through to the end.
Yep. And yeah. And, for a football project, especially if a team doesn't do as well as you think they're going to do, if you got a 12-4 team and you're 8 games in the project and they're struggling at 4-4, that's kind of, do I bag it or do I just kind of rush through? And maybe, when you're rushing through, that they rip off 2 or 3 wins in a row, and that will rekindle the thing.
Yeah.
Or in a hockey project where, let's face it, my dad's saying, like, you played 80 games to eliminate 5 teams. That really makes me want to watch it. That would obviously big games, Bruins, Canadians, or whatever your favorite team is in their rival. Those are the ones that you kind of slow down and enjoy. But how much fun are you going to get out of a Bruins Caps game in the middle of February?
Yeah.
When the Caps and Bruins are going to be number 2 seeds in their respective divisions. But yeah, I think it's a case of trial, as with anything else, it's trial and error. You rush because you want to get things done, or you're in the middle of a long, grinding project. Our friend Chris, Tabletop Sports Delaware, has got a 61 project he's been doing for about a year and a half with the 61 Yankees. And it's like, no, I've got other things to do. But
yeah, so you mean you can put it aside.
You can put it aside.
But the idea being,
then you just kind of go, okay, 40 left. I can do 40 games.
Yeah, it's like because something comes up, or maybe a new game comes out, or a new season comes out, and like, oh man, shiny new keys. I want to go play this right here.
With a shiny new key,
Yeah.
the laser toy. Yeah.
All the time. Something happens or somebody else does a project. Boy, that's a great idea. Or they pull out a game they haven't pulled out. It's like, man, I want to pull out this old game and play that too. But I got this this project here that I'm so close at finishing. And so, so then you're like, I really need to wrap this up so I can move on to some of these things, because if I go do this other thing, this is going to sit and sit and sit. And I enjoyed my time with it. And it might have got a little hangy at the 3/4 mark, but I'm so close to finishing. You're right. Let me get this done. Let me bang it out. And so you tend to rush it a little bit.
Yes.
And you don't enjoy that part of it. And then maybe you slow down at the end if you got a couple of good races happening, or if you got a couple of key games or something like that. Because I think that happened with my Seals games. I just kind of robotically went through a whole bunch of games just to get through them. And then there was a couple of games towards the end when I played, I think I played Minnesota and Cesar Maniago or Gump Worsley. I put one of them in net, and that was a fun game to play. And I think I played Boston one more time, so that was a fun game that I actually would slow down and enjoy that game for what it was, rather than just trying to finish it to get the stats. So that can happen too. But yeah, so I was so close. Like, you just want to finish it out so I can go look at those shiny new keys and start something else.
Absolutely. And you get something where you have – there's also like a great game rush. We talked about it last week. I think that Pittsburgh-Philadelphia 15-inning barn burner. I think we talked about that last week. Did we?
No, I don't think we did.
Oh my gosh, I had the best. Oh, I should have talked about this when we were playing, because I had absolutely the best regular season baseball game I think I've ever had. It will go right down with the walk-off safety and the Ellis Hobbs kickoff return to force overtime type deals on my channel. Pittsburgh and Philadelphia. Philadelphia leading by 4 games. They meet in a 2-game set in Philadelphia, late season game. First game of the two, we picked both games to stream first on 2 different days. First game, Pittsburgh's bullpen blows it late, and Philadelphia wins. And the second game, both teams take turns blowing leads, and the game goes 15 innings. Okay, and Pittsburgh went ahead in the top of the 12th, and Tim McCarver with the sac fly in the bottom of the 12th for Philadelphia. And by the time that we're done, it took an hour and 49 minutes to play the game.
Oof, wow.
And so we get to, this was last Thursday. So no, we hadn't done that. So Philadelphia 2 out, bottom of the 15th, Teddy Sizemore singled, and I've got the pitcher spot up. And I'm out of pitchers. Well, I got some short-term pitchers. I've got crappy pinch hitters, and so I'm going to figure I'm going to use Jim Cott because he's already pitching for me, and his pitch count is low, and I need to get this game done because it's 10 minutes of 2 in the afternoon, and I started at noon. So fine. So Sizemore, it's Action PC Baseball. Sizemore can steal second. He steals second because if he gets thrown out, then Cott leads off the 16th. Who cares? And so I've got Sizemore on second with 2 outs in the bottom of the 15th inning, and I'm going to my viewers are going, I have no choice but to hit Cott here, right? And they go, yeah, you pretty much do have to hit him. Well, wouldn't you know it? Cott is not a terrible hitter. He's a pitcher, so he's not a good hitter, but he's not a god-awful hitter, and he punches one through the right side to win the ballgame.
Fantastic, yeah.
And so it's an hour and 53 minutes, and the Phillies have won this amazing game, and I was supposed to do something else on Friday, so that was the last scheduled stream of the week. And then I get to Monday, and then you get the 12-1 blowout. So it's one of those those are the ones that you tend to rush because you're leaving off an incredible high.
Yeah.
You get that game where Henderson scores in the last minute or what have you, and then you get a 12-1 blowout that's over 15 minutes in. And because it's a streaming thing and not just, for my own satisfaction, well, thanks for watching, folks. We'll see you tomorrow. You got to finish it. So that's what gets you to rush because you get the all-time great, and then it's followed by, well, here's your water.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Can you put some ice in it? No, here's your tap water. Good luck. And so I guess that would be the thing when you get one of those games where maybe the Seals upset the Habs or something like that, and you go, yes, okay, there's some life in this project left.
Yeah.
And then it's like the next 4 games you're outscored 30-2.
Yeah. It does happen like that, But so I mean, we want to ask everybody, when you're playing a project, this is probably specifically a medium to a long project. Obviously, the short one.
That for a short one, you're going to kind of rush anyway to begin with.
No, you won't need to, because if it's a shorter one, you got a good grip on it. But if it starts to be a medium to a longer one, where you're looking at days, weeks, or even months. And maybe some people, what they do is so they don't get to that rush point is they do put it aside. And then they go do something else with the shiny keys.
I've done that.
And then they come back to it, and they're like, "Oh, okay, good to be back at this and chip away at it." For myself though, I want to get it done. I like to wrap things up. I don't like too many fires going on at the same time. So I like to put out the fire, so to speak. So when I wrap up a project, I feel like I've accomplished something. I feel like I put out that fire, and I don't feel like there's something smoldering behind me that I need to finish. Something that's like tugging on my socks, saying, "Hey, what about me? Well, we had a good time here. Let's finish this project up."
Well, the flip side of that coin is, and I'll talk about my 81, 82 Strat project, which has been sitting on the shelf for summertime because hockey and summer are just two things that no.
Well, not this year.
Well, not this year, obviously, but no. And so once I get in the mood to do that again, I'll go have another hot and heavy period. I'll get them into 1982, and then there is no expiration date for when a project needs to be done. I'm enjoying the project a great deal, but you don't want it to get old. You've got other things you got to do, either real life or whatever. And so that's one of those ones that I'm not worried about how long it takes me to do.
Do you feel that when you do that, when you take a project and you put it, okay, you hold off, put it on the back burner, put it on the shelf, so to speak, and you start doing some other things, and then some other things, and then some other things, and then a new game, and then a new season, and then this and that. Do you find that those games get buried and they get really difficult to get back to?
No.
Really?
Not if it's a project you enjoy. I like the Strat Hockey engine. I know that not everyone does. So it's an engine I like, and because I did the 75-76 Islanders on Action PC, those are players that I genuinely like to play. Now, I've done some other things where I've started projects and they get put on the back burner, and I'm not getting back to that one. Like the game, like the team, like the players, but no, I don't really want to have to sit there and come up with custom rules to come up with situation A or situation B. But no, I mean, if there's always should be one or two that you just kind of got, it's going to be there. And when I want to sit and spend some time with X, then I'll sit and spend some time with X. And then I'll spend a couple days with X, and then I'll get frustrated. What do you mean you gave up 9 runs in the first inning? It's not. That's just because you're tired, not necessarily that the game's messed up, but because you're messed up. And then you just kind of go along and you do something else. So no, because my projects do tend to be longer and season oriented.
Do you ever do, and I want to throw this out to the listeners as well,
sure,
for this question here. When you have a longer project and you know it's going to be a longer one, and you know that probably at some point you'll be stopping and playing something else, or maybe you get busy, your kid's in Little League, or you change jobs or whatever, and so you don't get back to this project for a bit. Okay, have you ever, or listeners, Ron? Let's just say it's you're doing a Strat baseball, or you're doing a APA baseball project. Mm-hmm. Okay. Do you ever go back when that project is put aside? Do you ever go back to that same game but play something else? So if you were doing Red Sox, Yankees, and Strat or APA, let's say, and that's a long project, would you ever go back and pull out Strat or APA baseball and say play? I'm going to play the Mets and the Astros in a 7-game series, or is it harder to pull out a game knowing you have a project in that game that you should finish first? You know what I mean? So you're doing the Action PC baseball big long project,
right?
You know, and you're pretty consistent with that for the show and the whole bit. But okay, so you're doing one offline. You're doing the Strat hockey offline. Let's say
the Strat hockey, just Strat baseball offline.
And so that's one project. Yeah, not in any hurry the whole bit, but. Could you pull out the Strat hockey, let's say, and do a smaller project, knowing that you have this other project there?
Probably not.
Yeah, isn't it hard to do that when you have it in there? So what I do is if I have a project going, I keep the cards out and I keep the cards in the box of the project I'm working on. So when I take out the box, all the cards are there and I can continue the project. But to pull out the box or to pull out the game and then to pull in some new teams and push aside that old project, using the same game, it's kind of hard, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, there's only so many projects I think anyone can do at one time, and some are going to be more active. The Action PC stuff is front and center. I've already announced that I'm doing 1949 next year. We're going to be doing some sort of, I've got 3 or 4 projects lined up to go. And so it used to be I could bounce around would do A and then, okay, it runs out of steam, pull out the same game, new teams, other project done. But no, because I think in order to avoid burnout, which we did a show on, I'm much more careful about what I pick out for projects.
Yeah. So do you think it's harder? So if you
absolutely.
So do you think it's hard? So let's just use Strat for example. So you're doing a Strat baseball thing on the tabletop, okay? And so you're playing it up and you get the season going and this and that. And so you put it aside, you play a few other things, and you're like, oh, I want to play some Strat baseball, but I want to play 2 different teams. Is that harder to pull out than if you said, hey, I'm going to pull out APA and play these 2 teams, or I'm going to pull out, a different baseball game and play these 2 teams, rather than pulling out you don't talk about a game that you're in the middle of a project. I
understand what you're talking about, yeah. Because it's all computerized for me, even though it's a card and dice game. You see in Strat, that season is kind of sitting there. And so every time you open the game, 1986 American League, 1986 National League, it's like, no, it's right there. I have a ton of other seasons, but no, it's right there.
For me, it's kind of like when I go to put on my shoes and the dog comes in and is like, oh, we're going for a walk? And it's like, no, I got an appointment, so I can't take you for a walk. And that's kind of how it feels like. It's like I said, you open up whatever game it is, and there's that project staring you right in the face. It's like, here I am. Are we going for a walk? And no, we're not going for a walk.
And again, even with those, because if you do a single team replay for a season in baseball, it's 162 games. And so there's going to be times where I know you rush through games. Maybe not, kind of a subset of rushing through the project is rushing through the games. And so you try to keep yourself interested through ground ball pitcher B or ground ball shortstop X. You roll the dice again for that, rinse, record, and all that. And then learn to slow down when there's a runner on base, or if it's a National League game. When have I got to start thinking about making strategic moves and removing pitchers and how to be fair and all that. But yes, there's definitely a case. Do you
think it's better that you're 75, 80, 85% through a longer project, medium to long project? Mm-hmm. Do you think it's better to try to rush that project and get it done, or put it aside and knowing that it could be a long time or never before you get back to it?
It depends on how the project's going. If you got a hot race, or you got someone that is contending for scoring records or whatever it is, you kind of get more excited, I think, about it. And I think you would kind of push that through. Can Phil Esposito get 80 goals? Can Jim Rice win? I mean, in the 78 project, I didn't realize this until I did the video last week. Dave Parker has a Triple Crown going. Oh, wow. And Dave Parker, I think, is going to win the Triple Crown. Jim Rice could also get a Triple Crown. He needs some things to happen, and so that right there, let's say I was doing a Pirates and the Red Sox are long out of the race in the East, but that would be, can I get Rice the Triple Crown?
I didn't
What's
know.
Rice's numbers going to finish? What? Okay, yeah, we're making the playoffs if we're the Bruins or the 74, but okay, so Tretiak sucks and Harmaloff is hurt and whatever, but Espo has got 130 points in 65 games. What kind of scoring record is Espo going to do? I think you try to, in my case, you try to create a story when there wouldn't necessarily be one. But if you're 10 games under 500 and there's no playoffs to come and everyone's kind of muddied through the season, yeah, I want to get it done because it's the 10th of September and I've come this far, and that's when you're going to rush. It's like everyone's, the lockers are being packed as we speak, but and I know that I'd rather watch the football game on Sunday afternoon than play the baseball game, but let's just get that's when you tend to rush. You could say you did it, but there's really, you're out of storylines to play.
Yeah, I think you make a good point, is that it depends what's going on with the project at the time. Are there any storylines that interest you or that are fun? And are you just playing out the string for playing it out? And at that point there, you might be better off just shelving the project until you're ready to come back to it. But
you're the one that was trying to do the 1899 Cleveland Spiders.
Yeah, well, I think the game started. Either that or I wasn't getting what was happening because something
different. It's a different style of baseball to begin with.
Yeah, because it just seemed like every pitch they stole.
Well, that's what they did then.
And I remember you had that glitch. So I'm like, is it the glitch or is it the game? And we had some fun games. I had some leads and we blew, and
but after you do that 50 times. Let's say I'm doing a 20 game. I'm going to do 20 games of the 140 game season, or the 62 Mets, or the 2003 or 4 Tigers, or whatever that lost 118 games. It's like, okay, I'm going to, because you are the king of futility. Let's do this 74, 75 caps.
Yeah, no, I ended up rushing through that. I just simulated the season, and they actually won a lot more games. But it just became, there was a whole bunch of reasons why that project just stopped being fun. I had some,
and that's the point.
That was the crack. It was not only the game. Maybe I didn't get that season because I thought it was just odd, the stuff that was happening in the game. I had never seen that before. The game itself, I thought, was just acting weird, and my streaming software was acting weird too. So just combining all those 3 or 4 issues that I was having, that's when it stopped being fun. When I streamed a few games and everything was going well and we laughed about how they lost, it was a good time. And then it just became, like I said, it just was not fun anymore. Because of the technical difficulties either I had or I thought I had. I was like, okay, we're going to steal every pitch. This ain't fun. It's so.
And that's the thing. When you get a team that's historically bad or historically mediocre, okay, let's say you take a 62 Mets and you take them for the full 162. They're terrible. They're going to be terrible, but they're not going to lose 120 games, or they're not going to win 40 games, and you might lose it. How many times do you want to sit there by yourself, not necessarily streaming, because that's what most people don't do, but how many times are you going to sit there and be excited about getting pounded 10-2?
Yeah.
Now, how many times do you have to watch Roger Craig give up split finger gopher balls? It's not fun after a while. And maybe they've won 45 games, and so they can't be historically terrible, but they're not going to contend. There's no, for me, it's all about storylines. If there's no stories, that's the projects that usually get shelled. So, if you can find something, Duke Snider is back in New York. He's hit another, 2 home runs, and, make something to keep yourself occupied, and then you rush to get it done. But you got to have a reason to do it, or else projects get shelved.
So, yeah, people, what do you guys think? First off, what game should I play to get out of my rut? What would you suggest I do to rekindle my love of the tabletop games after a few weeks off of cleaning my house and dealing with health issues? So what would spark my interest in that to get me back into the game? And also, what do you guys do about projects that you get close to the end, and do you rush them? Do you shelve them? I mean, how do you do it? Do you have any mental gymnastics that you do to get through that project? Because we all know there's always 100 products on the side that we would like to do, but we kind of feel some obligation to finish a project. So what do you do when you get to that point? Do you rush it? Do you shelve it? How do you get through it? We want to let you know. And, what were some of those projects? Maybe you can say that, hey, I had this project here and I plowed my way through it and it ended up unbelievable, or I plowed my way through it and it was very uneventful and I got it done for the sake of getting it done. So, yeah, please leave comments on all that. Any final words, Ron?
No, and I think that was a good one, and I'm curious to see how people actually do with that.
Yeah, interested to see your comments. Here we go. So by the numbers, this was episode 54, Ron.
Where are you?
Yeah, episode 54 was right here. Ways to get a hold of us, digitaltodice.com is our website where we park all the podcasts over on Spreaker. 978-751-DICE, 978-751-3423 is the text line, and facebook.com/groups/digitaltodice if you want to join us over there on Facebook to share your project, ask your questions, and just kind of have a good time over there. And I've really been enjoying everybody posting their stuff over there. I haven't posted much lately except for pineapple pictures, but but a lot of people have got some really good products going. So I am getting I'm getting the warmies here to get back and start rolling some dice again. I really am. So I'm hoping we get some good suggestions on some products for me. I am Dave.
I'm Ron.
Talk to everybody later.
Bye-bye.
No, give me the bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
We'll go with it.